All right, we're going live. Here we go. Welcome. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to another installment of, let me hold it. There we go. Avoid the blur. Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. That's right. When I set out to write this book, I wanted to make a contribution to the profession of coaching. I have been spending most of this year as Vice President of Communication for the Professional Coaches Alliance that follows some service as, let me get Gib involved. All right, cool. And Sue's coming in. All right. Let me add some people. All right, welcome. Hello, Mr. Armstrong. I can see you, and Sue, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. We are just getting started here on another installment of Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. I was mentioning that when I got into this year, I knew I was going to be Vice President of Communication for the Professional Coaches Alliance, and that's coming off of service on the board of an organization called California Coaches, which merged with Professional Coaches Alliance at the end of last year, heading into this year. So I've been in service for a pro bono volunteer for this coaching profession. And I thought heading into this year, since I'm committed to writing a tips book every year for the next, 5, 6, 7 more years. I don't know. I kind of want to get to 10 years in a row. And as a matter of review, the first one that we ever did was Get a Clue in 52, the original version here. And then we went on to an entrepreneur's edition last year. So this one for coaches is the third version of a Get a Clue in 52. And it's been fun over the last couple of years to have 52 tips ready to read one per week. And it gives myself a legitimate reason to be online, available, pro bono, free, making a contribution. Have a lot of fun with it, reading these tips. Word for word when we get into the book. But then, of course, when people like Sue or Gib or others that have joined in the past are here, then we transition into a conversation. Hopefully the dogs barking in the background aren't too distracting for you guys. I can hear them louder than you can, I bet. So,
no worries.
Everything's good? Okay, good. So all of these tips books, they all have 5 categories. And the categories for this one, for coaches, is first of all, we started the year with 11 tips in self-promotion, starting from becoming a coach, getting comfortable with being called a coach by whoever's training us as a coach, calling ourselves a coach, and then telling other people that we're a coach and hearing people call us Coach Jeffrey or whatever the deal is. Identifying, self-identification as a coach is a process, but then we got to get it out there into the world and let other people know that we're a coach or we can coach or we can solve problems through coaching. I planted seeds in this section on self-promotion that we're always more than just a coach. And that even though we have to get to the point where we call ourselves a coach and embrace the identity of coach, be careful not to fall into the I'm just a coach, I'm building a coaching business, building a coaching practice. Because I believe that if coaching is the only thing on our menu, we're going to have a hard time getting to business level. We might have a practice, we might have an income earning hobby. But as I was encouraging you to embrace the identity of coach and giving you some tips on how to get it out there into the marketplace that you're a coach, I caution you to not limit yourself to being a coach. Hey, you guys, you got to calm down. I'm live here. Doggies, come on. Come over here, sit down, relax. I'm live. The dogs are always barking. All right, here we go. So then after that, we got into 9 tips on engagement or enrollment. Chronologically, after we tell the world that we can coach or we're a coach, now we need to get coaching clients. Now, if we're inside of an organization, that means permission to lead. We want people engaged in their job, the team, the mission, the company, the culture, the vision, etc. And in private practice, we want enrollment. We want to have a contract that people sign when they enroll in our coaching programs, right? So engagement or enrollment, it comes down to permission to lead. And some level, I need to get permission to be the coach, to be the leader, to be the source of what we're going to get at in a minute here is motivation plus accountability. So once they're engaged, once they're enrolled, once we have permission to lead, then it is just 10 tips on motivation and then 10 tips on accountability. Now, there's more to motivation than 10 tips. There's more to accountability than 10 tips. But I've picked the 10 tips that I think give a really good representation on how you actually deliver coaching to a client once they're on board. How do you lead a direct report, not through management to the numbers, but leadership to their potential? How do we break the tools of coaching out of our toolbox and make them available to a direct report to a client? Well, it's motivation plus accountability equals results is the formula that I've always used. So I've given 20 collectively of my best tips to help you along the path to delivering this motivation, this accountability to your clientele, your direct reports, whatever the case may be, which brings us to these 12 tips in practice building. And this is where we're at right now. And it's just amazing how fast the year goes by. I remember looking forward to these 12 tips earlier in the year when I got to be a little jovial, when I got to have a little music in my mind as I read through the tips. And what's the jingle? 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer. But we're going to take that jingle and adapt it to these accountabilities that we're covering in these 12 tips on practice building. The argument is that if you want to build a practice, or if you want to build a business, any small business, micro business, solopreneurial endeavor has basically 12 accountabilities that you need to meet. And when I'm working on this with my clients, I say, hey, if your business isn't growing as fast as you want it to grow, or if your business is in pain at all, then we have 12 points that does it hurt here? Does it hurt here? Does it hurt here? We have 12 things that we can check in on to see, are you meeting this accountability? Are you meeting this accountability? What's your plan to meet this accountability? How much time does it take? Who's responsible for this? How are you following through? When do you manage performance? We get to ask all of those accountability questions if we have our understanding of what's happening. Now, when I'm training coaches inside of my coaching and leadership training, I train coaches how to hold people accountable to meeting these accountabilities. So it's at this point in the review that I'm about to get to tip number 46 today, of course, but I want to review the tips that we've covered so far, and I want to do it with a visual support. So I'm going to move towards screen sharing now and go to, this is directly in the workbook for my coaching and leadership training. You can see I've zoomed in on what I call Org Chart 101, or the Klubeck 12-step program. And this is from my coaching and leadership training workbook, as you can see up here. And inside of that training, when I'm working and mentoring and training coaches, this is labeled 1 through 12. Well, when I decided to lift this out of my coaches training and put it into the book, Get a Klu in 52, it ends up being tips number 41, 42, 43, etc. So when we got into this section on practice building, tip number 41 was, is it worth it? Pay the fee of feasibility. Where a lot of times people get into coaching or whatever the business they want to get into because they don't want to do this other thing that's less attractive, or for what may not be the most sustainable or profitable reasons to be in a business. I like to joke and get direct and say, do you have an income earning hobby? Or do you actually have a business? Or is it something in between, like a practice on its way from hobby to practice to business? Well, first of all, if you have clear vision for what it takes to run and build a business, right, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Do I want to work that hard? Do I want to struggle? Do I want to feel lost? Do I want to feel overwhelmed? Am I just weaving myself into an 18, 19, 20 hour a week, a day job, right? Or am I going to build is it worth it? How much time is it going to take? How much energy is it going to take? What am I going to have to do on a day-to-day basis? Which boxes on the rest of my org chart are my initials going to be in? And do I want to do that work? Do I enjoy that work? Am I good at that work? Will I be able to performance manage myself in that work? Who else will I get to do that work for me? And do I have budget for that? And quality control and cost control and burn? Is it worth it? That's the first accountability. We don't want to build a mansion on top of quicksand. Is it worth it? Pay the fee, do the work, make the investment, be honest with yourself about if it is worth it to run this business. If so, then tip number 42 is to run it, right? Make sure it runs. So when we look at this visually, we can imagine that there's a chief operating officer here who reports to the shareholder or the owner. Now, what's funny about that is that this would be me reporting to me. Or to even be even more funny about that, this is me reporting to my wife and I. And that's really funny, right? But that's the truth for most people. Most people that start their own business, especially when it comes to a coaching practice, if you're married, you and your spouse are the shareholders. Is it worth it, right? And now, if it's worth it, who runs it, right? If you put both of you into that box, you're going to have about as easy a time making decisions about your business as you do in your household. I don't mean to keep joking, but this is real stuff. But the idea is this person's accountability. Number 42 is run it. Make sure it runs. So what you see here then is 4 departments that report into a chief operating officer. And from left to right, it's marketing, sales, operations, and finance. So tip number 43 was in the land or the department of operations. And it was that, let me see a menu. Can I see a menu? Do you have a menu? Can I get a menu, please? What are you selling? And this is where I go back to, if coaching is the only thing you're selling, you're going to struggle, because as soon as you sell enough coaching, half of your calendar is full with delivering coaching sessions, which takes away the time that you need to manage all of the other accountabilities in your business, right? So there's a law of diminishing returns. There's a ceiling that you hit, and you're going to run into scalability issues if coaching is the only thing on your menu and if you're the only service provider that's servicing the coaching. But the idea is, what's on the menu? That's an accountability in the organization. Do I need to add stuff to the menu, take stuff off to the menu, improve the menu, create a special midnight menu, a discount menu, Black Friday's coming up. What's on the menu? What is available for people to buy? Then tip number 44, we left operations and went into the marketing department for the first of two accountabilities over here. Tip number 44 is, it's info in. Info in, bring info in. Every business must bring information from the marketplace into the business. Info in, market research. And we broke that down into the 3 C's: the climate, the customers, and the competition. The 3 C's, those are the focuses of research when we're doing research, right? And among those 3, if I could only research 1, it would be my customer. If I could research 2, it would be the competition. And then 3, market conditions, market climate, etc. But then last week, we got into the second accountability within marketing. The tip number 45 overall, and Get a Clue in 52, and number 5 on the org chart, is info out. This is the branding, the wordsmithing, the sloganeering, the sticky messaging, the where's the beef, the just do it, the slogans, the things that stick, the brand promises that get communicated in memorable ways, right? Information out. And not just the messaging, but the channels. Where do I put my messages? Through which channels do I send my messages? Never mind the sticky factor of the messages themselves. But, if the tree falls down in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it really make a sound? Does it matter how sticky my message is if I'm not getting it through the right channels, to the right places, to the right people that might be interested in buying what's on my menu? So that takes us to where we're at today. Tip number 46 overall is number 6 on the org chart. And I could go ahead and stop sharing now, and I'll scroll through. As I mentioned, tip number 41 was pay the fee of feasibility. Tip number 42 was to run it. If it's worth running, then run it. Number 43, can I see a menu from the land of operations? Then we got into marketing with info in, do market research, and then info out. Let the world know that we've got stuff for sale. Then we might have prospects, right? When they go from John Doe, we don't know them at all, to a lead, we might have a phone number, email, an inquiry. Then the prospect, they're actually willing to listen to, willing to learn more about what's on the menu. Then we get into where we're at today. Sales, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, sales is a 5-letter word, not a 4-letter word. And that's basically to communicate right up front that a lot of people that especially get into coaching, right? I want to help, I want to serve, I want to connect, I want to transform, right? For all of those service-based, I want to help others reasons, people may not have the same instinct for confronting somebody on making a commitment, getting the credit card, right, signing the contract, etc. So there's a different behavioral style required of the accountability of sales than there may be for market research or market penetration or even delivery of service. Once we have a coaching client, it's a different disposition to deliver coaching than it is to market or sell coaching. Right. So these are the things that I'm trying to bring into focus and shine a light on, is how many accountabilities there are if we want to build a coaching business, and how hard they all are, right? Especially if we're responsible for meeting all of them. Now, having said that, I'm ready to go ahead and get into the word for word of today's tip on page 185. If you're following at home in your own copies of Get a Clue in 52 available on Amazon. But before I do get into the word for word of it all, let me take a deep breath, get a sip of water, calm the dogs down, and welcome you, Sue, and yourself, Gibson, to Get a Clue in 52. Thank you guys for being here. Do you guys have any interest in opening up your microphone and commenting on anything I've mentioned so far as a review of how we got to where we're at before I read today's tip?
Appreciate the overview as I think about getting started, Jeff.
Yeah, cool. I could just dive right in and start reading the tip, but I always feel like I've got enough time in the 45 minutes I budget for these sessions to do a review and an overview. Primarily, I'm streaming into 4 or 5 different social media channels. You never know who's watching when. So I think it's helpful to, do a review every time, just for the sake of posterity. And also it gets me centered, gets me ready to really bring the right voice to the tip reading. So thank you for that, Gibson. Shout out to Greg Grant, who's out there in cyberspace somewhere, who may come on board live. Let me just put the link to the comments. In the comments, tinyurl.com/get-a-clue-tip. This will be 46. It's a consistent naming convention for the custom URLs that I build for people to join us live in studio. Sue, what say you before I get into any word for word the word for word of today's tip? It's a good one today.
Yeah, I think listening to the review, you realize just how much is makes up being a coach and having a practice. There is a lot in it, and we forget how much it takes. So always a good reminder.
It's not your fault. Right? It's not your fault. This is one of the problems with social media in general, right? Is that everybody has a good time posting their successes on social media, but they don't post the struggles, right? Whether it's being a coach, being a speaker, or anything else, right? A lot of people, and we're working on this, Sue, we're going to come out with the next version of Get a Clue in 52 for speakers. And one of the points that we're going to make in that book is like, hey, anybody could go to a speech, go to an event, see the speaker on stage, see the lights in their face, see the cameras being snapped, right? And see the people getting up out of their seats to go talk to the speaker after the speech. Everybody can see that and want that and envision themselves doing that. But what you don't see is everything that leads up to that speaker getting on stage. We're going to talk about some of those foundational pieces that an aspiring or an emerging speaker doesn't want to ignore. Well, we're doing it here for coaches, right? We're going to do it in 2024 for speakers. Same thing. Yeah, especially when you get to these 12 tips that we're in right now of practice building, or people are my speaking business. Really? Do you have a speaking business? Okay. How many gigs do you do? What do you charge for what do you pay yourself to speak? How much stays in the business? What's your market? I have an income earning hobby as a speaker. It's the same, right? So
exactly.
we're going to end up repurposing some content. We're going to bring some fresh takes on all of it. But thank you for that chime in. That's wonderful. All right, here we go. I just noticed that there's a lot to read here, so I'm going to get into it. Thank God I've had my coffee already. I'm wound up. Let's go ahead and do it. Sales, ladies and gentlemen, sales is a 5-letter word. Tip number 46. Here we go. The 6th accountability in Org Chart 101 is the only accountability in the sales department. Convert, enroll, close. Whatever term you use on surface for the accountability of sales, this tip asks you first to swim to the depths of your subconscious and find a way to love sales. Okay, genuinely like sales? Okay, like sales enough to be willing to do sales? Okay, like building your coaching business enough to be willing to do sales. Do you see where this is going? If I asked if you are a salesperson, you would say, perhaps with some posturing pride, as I call it, no, I'm a coach. I might then ask who you coach for, and you would say, I then might ask who you coach for, and you would say, myself, or I have who you coach for, like what organization you coach for. And you might say, myself, or I have my own coaching business. I then might ask, who does the sales in your business? And then you would say, right? So I'm going to read that back just so I get the right rhythm of it. If I asked if you were a salesperson, you would say, perhaps with some posturing pride, as I call it, no, I'm a coach. Then I might ask who you coach for, and you would say, myself, or I have my own coaching business. I might then ask, who does the sales in your business? And then you would say, with a smiley face, I actually put the smiley face in there, right? All right. Here, this is bolded and italicized, so understand that. Here we go, if you don't have a copy at home. If you are building a coaching business and don't even aspire to be good enough at sales to really admit that you do sales, readily embrace the identity of a salesperson, someone who studies, practices, and competes to make sales every day, you can expect your coaching business to struggle. Period. I read on. The entire second section of this book is a series of sales tips. Right? Second section of this book? That's right, yeah. The entire second section of this book, Get a Clue in 52, the entire second section is a series of sales tips that are embedded into the Little Pink Spoons experience of 2 cop sessions that built my practice to what it is today. Understand that before I was trained as a coach, I had many sales jobs, sales trainings, years of sales experience, door-to-door, by phone, in person, selling such things as A newspaper subscription door to door as a 12-year-old kid. Phone card business opportunities as a college student in my early 20s. A change in career as a headhunter in my late 20s and early 30s. Cold calling alumni of universities to get them to donate to their alma maters in my late teens. Fundraising for consumer protection and campaign finance reform door to door in my mid 20s. To name a few, you get the idea. It is entirely believable that it is my sales training, not my coach's training, that deserves the credit for the growth of my coaching practice. My ability to enroll clients and generate revenue to put back into the business to continue self-promoting my way to offering 2 comp sessions to more and more people. The truth is, getting at least good at sales isn't enough either. But I'm hammering the point that you have no chance at growing your coaching business without learning how to sell and getting comfortable, if not in love, with being a salesperson. Ready for more tough love? Here's what they do not tell you in coaches training. Coaching is an eat what you kill profession. I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to make eye contact into the camera. Here's what they do not tell you in coaches training. Coaching is an eat what you kill profession. Let that settle. I'm going back to word for word. If you want anyone else doing the sales for you, that means you will be a contract or employee coach working for another organization, not your own. Or before I go on word for word, or you've hired somebody to do sales for you. Now you got to pay them out of the coaching fees, and then get into pricing and all of that. and or charging what you're worth. We're going to get to it. Here we go. Furthermore, you'll be getting paid very, very, very little for your coaching, especially compared to what the client is paying the organization for your coaching, and probably compared to your worth. I have earned contracts with coaching organizations where I would get coaching assignments. They were not my clients. They were my assignments. I didn't have to do the sales, just show up online or in person and coach. The compensation for those assignments was no more than $150 an hour for the phone or Zoom sessions, or $800 a day for the full day on-site in-person assignments, not paid for travel time on planes or in hotels away from family. Not bad if they can fill your calendar with those, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to make $4,000 a day without having to do, $4,000 a week, right? 800 times 5 without having to do the sales, the marketing, or any of the overhead. Just tell me where to be and I'll be there. $4,000 a week. What is that? It's close to, 20 something, close to 20 grand a month, right? Sure. Who wouldn't want to do that? Anyway, I'm going to get back to the word for word. And I'll back up a little bit. I have earned contracts with coaching organizations where I would get coaching assignments. They were not my clients. They were my assignments. I didn't have to do the sales. Just show up online or in person and coach. The compensation for those assignments was no more than $150 an hour for the phone or the Zoom sessions, or $800 a day for full day on-site in-person assignments, not paid for the travel time on planes or in hotels away from my family. Not bad if they can fill your calendar with those, right? Except for how much time you'll be away from your family. Except if so, you are not growing, quote unquote. If so, you're not, quote, growing my coaching business as much as you are customer service fulfillment for somebody else's business, right? I want you all to know, I went through this. There was a couple of years where I accepted so many of these assignments. I was gone all the time, and I wasn't building my coaching business. I might have been building my personal brand, but not my coaching business, because I was so busy serving others that I was doing customer service in somebody else's org chart rather than meeting all of the accountabilities in my own org chart. There's a difference, and it's important to pay attention to. Let me continue reading. From the end, and here we go. From the end of 2016 until mid 2018, I took on so many assignments as Coach Jeffrey for one of my independent contracts that I did not promote my own business or meet so many of the other accountabilities I'm presenting in this section beyond a super bare minimum way. I hired an assistant for 10 hours a week to do the admin, just enough to keep the lights on, but I wasn't growing my own coaching business, even though I was earning 6 figures as a coach. When the contract was up, it felt like starting all over again when returning a full-time focus to my own business. And I say that in quotes because by now, I still don't feel comfortable calling my business a business. I do feel comfortable calling it a thriving practice, but I don't feel comfortable calling it a business, as we'll continue to make the point. Back to word for word. Moreover, if you want someone else to do the sales for this is the point I was getting at earlier. If you want someone else to do the sales for your coaching business, you will have to recruit, interview, hire, contract someone, and then give them the leads and prospects, unless they are supposed to get those on their own. You will have to give them commission on every sale and maybe a draw against commissions so they can eat during the time it takes to ramp up on their sale. You will also have to train them how to sell coaching unless they already know how, in which case, how would it be attractive to sell coaching for you instead of themselves or anyone else they can be selling coaching for? So here you go again, marketing yourself to a salesperson so you don't have to do your own sales. You would literally be selling a salesperson on the opportunity to sell for you. Do you guys hear how fun that was to write? And can I say it again just to humor myself? Here we go. And I'm going to read it from the top because I'm enjoying it so much. Moreover, right? And this is the point. If you want somebody else doing sales for you, then you're a coach in their organization. You don't have a coaching business. You're just doing customer service in somebody else's. But if you do want to build your own coaching business, you still don't want to call yourself a salesperson and do your own sales. Now you have to, are you ready? If you want someone else to do the sales for your coaching business, you'll have to recruit, interview, and hire or contract someone, and then give them leads and prospects, unless they're supposed to get their own leads and prospects. You will have to give them a commission on every sale and maybe a draw against commission so they can eat during the time it takes to ramp up their sales. You will also have to train them how to sell coaching, unless they already know how to sell coaching, in which case, imagine this. If you're recruiting somebody that already knows how to sell coaching, now, why are they going to sell coaching for you instead of for themselves? Or why are they going to sell coaching for you instead of somebody who charges more for coaching, who pays more commission, who gives a better draw, who gives better training, who has other products on the menu? So they don't have to just sell coaching. You can sell training, sell keynotes, sell books. And you understand what I'm getting at. Now, this is the funny part to me, right? So here you go again, marketing yourself to a salesperson, not even a coaching client. Now you have to sell yourself to a salesperson. You would literally be selling a salesperson on the opportunity to sell for you. So, I mean, that's just really funny to me because it's really real. I lost one of my lights. Let me do a quick little plug-in and I'll get back to word for word. We're so close to opening this up to dialogue and conversation, and I'm getting the music queued up in the back of my head because we're sprinting to the finish line. But now that I've reset my lighting, here we go. If you happen to find yourself in the unrealistic, hypothetical situation of trying to avoid selling so much that you find yourself selling the job of selling to a salesperson because you are a coach, damn it, not a salesperson, LOL. I'd be willing to bet that one of the first questions a salesperson is going to ask you is, do we just sell coaching? Or do you have other stuff I can sell? See accountability number 3 or number 43. Can you commit a full-time salary to a salesperson? Can you give a salesperson enough dollars worth of product services to sell so they can make enough money that they do not ever have to look elsewhere for income or opportunity? I could go on, but I think you've got the idea. And cue the music. 7 more accountabilities on the chart. 7 more accountabilities. I don't describe my own business as a coaching business. I call it a coaching practice because I do my own sales. I only eat what I hunt and gather. When it comes to this accountability, the closest I will get to calling what I have a business is when I use the phrase, mind your own. If I am offended or in any denial when somebody asks me if I'm a salesperson. Hey, Jeff, are you a salesperson? Mind your own business. That's the closest I get to calling mine a business. You guys understand the humor there? I don't even call it a business because all of this is hard. All right. To the music. You nail one down, pass it around. If you are not convinced that you need to get better at sales from the mindset to the skill set, and that getting good enough sales to generate enough revenue to pay yourself 6 figures after all the other expenses are paid is very difficult. If you're not convinced of all of that, if you're not yet convinced, the next 6 tips reveal dozens more reasons why coaches struggle to build what I would personally feel comfortable calling a business. 6 down. Is it worth it? Does it run? What does it sell? What must we know about the marketplace? What does and how does the marketplace know about us? And how do we convert prospects to clients? And cue the music again. 6 more accountabilities on the chart. 6 more accountabilities. I hope you tune in when we do it again. 6 more accountabilities on the chart every Friday at 9 a.m. Da, 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 da. All right, there you have it. Tip number 46, get a clue in 52. Sales is a 5-letter word. You better find a way to fall in love or pretend that you like it, because if you're going to be in denial about the fact that you've got to do it, you've got this dilemma now of only doing customer service in somebody else's business or selling yourself to a salesperson to do the sales for you that you're in denial about needing to do for yourself. And then all of the different problems associated with attracting, retaining, training, keeping that person on board, giving them enough to make them so they're not pretending to do sales for you when they're really figuring out how to eat. I can go on, but let me go ahead and open it up to conversation. What do you say, you guys? Any comments or feedback on this tip?
For me, yeah, one thing I find interesting is your reflection on your years of sales that you've done, and putting that in perspective of what actually makes up a sale. What does that look like? And attributing your success to the work in that space. And so I wonder if for anyone, whatever it is that we're trying to build, coaching, speaking, any business, whether we changed our mindset around sales and fell in love with it, what a difference that might make to our success.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think I put it, as long-winded as I am and as wordy as I am and as long as the tip was, I think that what you just said was said quite succinctly when I said something like, I think it was this on 186, it is entirely believable that it is my sales training, not my coach's training, that deserves the credit for the coach of my coaching practice or the growth of my coaching practice. Right. So that's succinctly said what I think that you're capturing. And again, it's fun to be vulnerable and just kind of lay it out there. Like that's one of the things that I said, this is Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. I'm going to step away here and make sure my back door is open for my dogs to go in and out if they want to. Wife's out of town today. I don't have as much support today. So let me just open this up so they can go bark outside all they want. Go ahead, you guys, outside. Go ahead. All right. Back there. We're live, you guys. We're going live on social media. The dogs are such hams. There they are, Cookie and Bueller. They're so fun. All right. So, yeah, thank you for that, Sue. Either what else on that or anything else, or Gibson, do you have any comments or questions or reflections about what we were covering there?
Not really. The thought of having someone else do my sales for me actually never crossed my mind.
Yeah, that's good. Now that it's crossed, it's important because it's not impossible, right? And like I said, I have a brand called Coach Jeffrey, where I'm more than happy to let other people to do the sales for me or create the leads for me or bring me in to serve their clients. I have referral partners and hey, Jeff, I have an introduction for you. And I'll ask, is this Coach Jeffrey within your organization, or are you referring it to my organization? So you tell me what you want the arrangement to be. And I've built myself to that flexibility where I could do my own self-generated and pay referral fees to, for channel partners that provide leads, or I can just white label myself. I don't care what the name on the top is, as long as we get the job done for the client. So I don't mind if it's Coach Jeffrey in ABC organization. I'll give a specific example in a shameless plug to Workplace Training Network, WTN, led by the fearless and beautiful and amazing Kit Goldman and her partner Memo Mendez. They do mandatory workplace compliance trainings. And so they're always talking with HR professionals about, checking the boxes every year, harassment, diversity, violence, all those mandatory trainings that have to be done. But obviously they get an earful sometimes of the other soft skill or communication or leadership challenges that are going on in the same organization. So they'll say, hey, Jeff's our communication guy. Well, Jeff's the person. And when they call me, it's like, hey, am I being Jeff as part of WTN? I'm Coach Jeffrey inside of WTN. Hey, I'm Jeff with Workplace Training Network. What can I do for you? Or are you referring this to the Integrity Game? Or are you referring this to Get a Clue? And the proposal is going to have Get a Clue or the Integrity Game on it, one of the other brands that I'm working with. And they both make slightly different brand promises as I evolve them. But yeah, Gibson, it's entirely possible to have other people do sales for you. There's beyond the considerations that I've mentioned in this tip, there's a lot of ways to get it done. So what else? We've got some time left in the time that I've budgeted for our session today. What other comments or questions, or is there anything that you guys are working on that I can help you with from a coaching perspective? That's always on the table, some live laser coaching, or just, a beautiful discussion around these tips. Sue?
Yeah, my question, what to you has helped you love sales?
Oh, there's so many things.
Two.
There's so many things. Like from the reptilian. Did I understand your question correctly, by the way? Did I understand the question correctly? Like, what is it that's helped me love sales? Go ahead, Sue. Because there was a little bit of a delay there. Let me make sure I heard the question correctly. Go ahead and restate it if you can.
Yeah, what has helped you? Yeah, what has helped you?
Yeah, all right. So from the reptilian perspective,
Love sales.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of delay. Hopefully that remedies itself. But I hope it's not anything that I've got going on in my backgrounds or what have you. Let me shut down some of my stuff and make sure that I'm not the problem. But first of all, like the fall on the sword, the be vulnerable, the the reptilian, right, is survival. Right? Like my parents didn't have money. Right? So if I wanted to take a girl out on a date, I had to work. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so like if I wanted money for things, I had to go sell. So I remember when I didn't even mention this in the book, but I was like 8 years old and I, found $1 and I go to the grocery store and I bought a 99-cent gallon of lemonade. And then I went and I sat there on the corner with a bunch of Dixie cups and I was waving people down and I was selling 25-cent cups of lemonade. And I was like, wait a second, I've sold 5 cups. I'm up 25 cents and I've got more than 3/4 of this gallon left. This is incredible. So I sold the gallon. I had like $5. So I went and I bought 2 gallons and then I brought a fruit punch. So I had a lemonade and a fruit punch. And then I had my brother involved and my brother's waving people down. And now I could sell more because I had 2 more hands. So, I mean, I success, getting a sale. And it was like now that's the reptilian, right? Like the early formation of childhood, but then 12 years old, I wanted to make money and how do I make money? Because every time I ask my mom and dad for money, it's always no. So how do I make my own money? And I saw in junior high, so the guy's like, hey, I'm recruiting people to go sell newspaper subscriptions. And I just saw this guy and I went home and I'm like, Mom, can we meet with this guy? Can I get a job? And like crazy, like my mom when I was 12 years old, let me go door to door in these weird neighborhoods, knocking on doors, asking and then, like she was like, hey, this would be good for your brother too. And next thing I know, like we're out of the house a couple nights a week. And so it was good for everybody. Right. But, it's like when you get good at something, I remember the one sheet that the guy gave us. He's like, all right, here, study this. And it was literally what you hear about handling objections, right? So look, when you go and you say, hey, here's the wrap, you're going to get a bunch of free copies of the Daily News, the newspaper. You're going to knock on the door and you say, hey, my name's Jeff, and I just stopped by to give you a free copy of the Daily News. And once they open the door, open the screen, and they take the newspaper, right? Then you've got conversation, and then you flip your clipboard over and you show them a picture of like the national park. Say, I'm working to win this educational trip to Yosemite, and you can help by signing up for by subscribing to the newspaper for $1 a week. And so on the sheet, it said, if they say can't afford it, you say, well, with the money saving coupons on the Thursday and Sunday edition, you're actually losing money not to subscribe. It's $1 a week, but you could save $5, $10, $15, $20 or more if you just take the time to cut out the coupons. You know how much money that'll save you at the grocery store? And I would actually say you're slitting your throat financially not to get the newspaper. It's like, oh, well, I don't read it. Well, that's okay. There's local elementary school children that will come by and pick up your newspapers and do it for newspaper drives and recycling at the elementary school, or if you have children in the house, current event. In other words, I learned that if there's an objection, there's a response to an objection. And then when you read that and then you try it, you're a kid, right? You don't have as much defense mechanism. And you're like talking to a stranger and they say this and you say this and they say, okay. You're like, oh my God. Right. But then also like what? I would knock on, 60, 70 doors a night, trying to get 4, 5, 6, 7 subscriptions. And what's the percentage? Hey, dogs barking. Hey, don't you read the sign? No soliciting. So I built some thick skin, but the falling in love part is the survival, right? Like I needed to, I like, if I don't sell myself into a job, if I don't work, if I don't sell my hours for dimes, I'm not going to have money for the things that I want. I want to do stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so part of it is the training. Part of it is the success. Part of it is like the process of reading something, trying it and getting the result. And, oh, wow, that's good conditioning. Right. Part of it is survival mechanism and growing up in scarcity. There's that. Right. There's also like, seeing the look of satisfaction on somebody's face. And this is what I've evolved to more recently. Like the newspaper is valuable. It's like, it's always worthwhile to subscribe to the newspaper. Nobody will ever lose subscribing to the newspaper, or at least back then, right? Right? It's like, here's what I'm trying to get. Here's a roundabout answer to the question. Sometimes it's not sales that we fall in love with. It's how good our stuff is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now what I'm really in love with is the idea of people either getting or not getting my stuff. So sales is just in the way. It's just in the middle. Like sales is just what's in between how good my stuff is and how much of a difference it's going to make for the person that gets it. And this, like, I'll give you an example. It's on so many different levels. We had our marketing meeting this morning, Sue. And you guys, I have apprentices that I tap into. I've got this service, then they match apprentices for marketing related stuff, and I get them for 10 hours a week in exchange for 1 or 2 hours of mentoring. So I'm always committed to helping young people, and it's a good exchange of value, and my expectations are low. It's some of them, it's the first time they've ever done any of it. That's okay. I give them the content, I give them the software, I give them my mentoring, I give them everything that they need to build their portfolio and have an internship experience, right? And if it's good, we'll actually share it with clients, right? But no expectation. I'm just in it to mentor and to be a person of service, right? Well, this morning at the marketing meeting, when I get everybody together and Coach Joey and Coach Chuck and the apprentices, and we talk about ongoing projects and they show their work, everybody gives feedback on their work and we make sure they have in the next 10 hours a week worth of work to do, right? One of the apprentices, and her name is Varsha. She's so lovely. Shout out to Varsha. She's in Toronto, actually, and she's doing video editing for us. And she says, Jeff, I have a question. It's not about the projects. It's not about the work I've done so far. She says, do you have room for more internships for other people outside of the organization through which you met me? And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, I've got a lot of friends that are saying, what's going on? So in other words, she's in the ecosystem. She's consuming the content. She's so thrilled with how safe and supported she feels getting to be creative and do what she needs to do, that her friends are starting to say, what's going on? What are you drinking? What have you been doing? And she's like, well, I'm working with this guy and, it's this thing and there's this, and she's, for whatever however she looks, however she's glowing, right? To me, that's what has me in love with sales now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, is the glow on her that's noticed by her peers, where now they're like, I'll have what you're having, please. Does he have more internships? Does he need an HR person? Does he need an admin? Does he need and all of her friends are starting to wonder if there's other work that we need done or other content or other projects that we can assign to young people to help them build their stuff. And if it's good, we'll use it. Yeah. So what I'm ended up selling is what? Not my products or services. I ended up selling my ecosystem. I'm selling my opportunity. I'm selling an internship or an apprenticeship. I'm selling, hey, you want to give me 10 hours a week of work product in exchange for 1 to 2 hours of my mentoring? I'm selling that exchange of value. And what has me in love with that is just the way these young people are growing and some of the work product that they're doing. You see some of the graphics that I'm putting out. The graphics that I use to promote this every week is done by an apprentice that I've mentored who stayed on board in the ecosystem. So to answer your question, there's a continuum between, survival, right? and then the abundance that sales creates for me to give to others. I have so much to offer people, and it's not going to get there unless I sell it.
Yeah. But there's magic. There's magic in that. I think that you give that perception that we don't have to be afraid of it.
Yeah, well, that goes back to the tip. It's right there. Sales is a 5-letter word, not a 4-letter word. Go ahead and be afraid of the 4-letter words. Fracking stuff. But sales is a 5-letter word. In other words, it's not a bad word. It's not a bad word. It's 5, not 4-letter word. It's not a bad word.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Like, if we can learn to fall in love or tolerate it or fall in love with our business or fall in love with helping people enough to tolerate sales, but we're in denial, absolute denial. If we deny, and if we aren't a salesperson, we still manage the sales department. So we better make sure somebody's doing sales. So if we're not doing the sales, we better manage sales. And we lost Gibson, but I think that was an aha for him, right? Is, wow, I never thought that somebody else could do the sales for me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many ways to get that done, but you have to have these other considerations from a perspective of management. So last call, we're at 9:45. Thank you, Sue, as always, for being here. But last call, does anything else come to mind that you want to kick around?
No, I love it. Love it. Really, really good conversation.
Yeah. I'm really pleased, and it's fun for me because we're nearing, we've got, that's 46. So that 47, 48, 49, 50, right? 7, 8, 9, 50, 51, 52, 6 left, right? And 6 weeks left. That means that in a year, we have 6 weeks left. But wow, when we started off on, self-promotion, now we're on, it's a wonderful journey. And the collection of all of these recordings that I have, the transcriptions for not just the tip reading, but the discussions that have ensued otherwise, and the joviality and the reviews, what a neat little corpus of content, right? And that's, again, I get the marketing apprentices. I say, hey, dive into these videos and pull testimonials out of it, pull Kluby snacks out of it, right? So there's just so many valuable and fruitful reasons for doing this. And I've got a source of pride that I'm 6 weeks away from completing 4 consecutive years of coming online every single week to read and discuss a tip. So thank you for being here, as you are so often, to support me and make it interactive. And thanks for those of you that are out there that are chiming in. Instead of anything else you could be doing, you've taken a moment to get a glimpse of what we're trying to do here and Get a Clue in 52, which is just put a bunch of tips out in the world and create a consistent forum for people to get together and talk about real stuff in a real way. And we'll keep it as fun as we can every week. So thank you, Sue, as always. And we'll see you next week for tip number 47. We move out of the sales department, and next week we're going to move back into operations and focus on customer service. That's what we're going to be all about next week. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week, great weekend. Happy Thanksgiving in advance for those of us celebrating in North America and wherever we are. And but you know what? The whole thing about Thanksgiving every week is like, what? One day? Are you kidding me? Find a way to be in gratitude every day. All right. Just eat a bunch of food. Just eat a bunch of food next week. Okay. All right. I love you guys. We'll see you next time. Thank you.